being silent, without saying anything, it created a mess. I became inauthentic. I didn't know how to be vulnerable anymore. I didn't know how to talk without overthinking and overanalyzing the things that I was going to say, thinking that I'm not ready yet. Trying to be anything besides myself. What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Rich in Real Life. It's just me and you, y'all. And this episode is probably going to be something that I've had to sit in for a really long time. You know those lessons that you go through that seem prolonged? Like you're like, God, I get it already. And he's like, not yet. You still got to sit in this one. And it's something that I've had to also sit in to find out the right way to communicate it. I still don't know if I'm communicating this the right way, but it's something that I hear so many women feel that I really want to talk about. And I couldn't think of a better way to open this season, because it is exactly why, for the first time in 5 years, I took the longest personal break in podcasting that I have ever taken. So to be clear, I've had a podcast since February 2018. Literally 4 months after the birth of my son, I started a podcast called The Stranded Phase. That podcast has been going over 350 episodes since February 2018. I've taken a few breaks here and there. And when I say a few, the longest consecutive break I've ever taken was 6 weeks. Maybe a week or so here and there, maybe a holiday break. But that podcast has a wealth of me talking through every phase in my life with other entrepreneurs, other business owners, friends, peers, people in my network about everything under the sun, about being stuck and about my concept of being rich in real life, which honestly has very little to do with wealth, by the way. But I have not done a podcast since February 2023. And to be honest, a lot of those were like former content. So I actually haven't recorded a podcast since August 2022. And there was a really good reason, not good reason, but a very significant reason why. And it was because I felt like I lost my voice. I felt like I lost my voice. I felt voiceless. I felt powerless. My voice is shaking a little bit when I'm saying this. And I don't know about y'all, but I say this all the time. I very often don't cry when I'm really angry. I cry a lot when things are true. I can feel the knot in my throat, y'all, for real. I was completely muted for like a year. And it got so bad and picked at me so much that it bled into every part of my life. Now, while this might not seem massive or significant or this huge variable, I have been talking for a portion of my career everywhere and about everything that I do. I have a popular podcast. Before my podcast, I had a corporate job where I was the voice. I was the partnership development person that spoke out loud about everything. I have a business that teaches other people how to amplify their voices. I tell stories. I speak at events. I host my own woman's event with my co-founder and best friend. Like, I speak literally for a living. And then I found myself August 2022, almost a year ago, voiceless. Now, while it's really easy, like a whole year, y'all. And it made me think about a quote I saw the other day online that literally said, like, don't be afraid to hide or disappear until you find out who you are, until you get back to you. That has been my entire year. Coupled with, and I know we've all seen this one, when you heal, when you do the work, when you start to unravel the things that the lens in which you live life through that cause you to like seek validation and be visible all the time and be the one, the person, the thing. the more you heal those things, the less visible you want to be, the less you want to be everywhere, the less you want to be known by everyone. You like by design become a little more silent. And what I couldn't figure out for a year was which one was it? Was I in a season of silence because I needed to listen, because I needed to accept some things, because it wasn't my season to talk. It was my season to be silent, receive, heal, listen, consume. Like, what was it? Rest. Or was I silenced for other reasons? And I'm talking about this because, one, y'all know this thing chased me. It chased me. Like after a year, I am seeing the side effects of me being silent and not using my voice. And they are becoming stronger and stronger every day. Like one, you don't listen to God's purpose for you, intention for you. Like you don't listen to him. It won't take long for you to see why that's an issue. Two, it has chased me. Like I am starting to lose sleep at night about like, I can feel the physical effects in my body of being silent because I know my silence was warranted for all the wrong reasons. But this happens to all of us. And that's why I'm bringing this up, is because I have spoken to so many women that are silenced by things that society thinks that we are supposed to be strong about, or we're just supposed to get over, or we're supposed to just move on, or we're supposed to just continue to show up. And we do show up because we're relentless. We're relentless in our pursuits, and shit, we're relentless in other people's pursuits. We show up as different versions of ourselves, and not the healthiest, because we become silent. We don't do the work. We don't express ourselves. We don't open up. We don't talk to other people. I'm talking specifically about women. I know men have their own variation of this, very different. I know men have this problem as well, but I'm talking to women specifically. And I know so many women that I have talked to that are silenced from grief and loss and betrayal and paralyzed by fear, rejection, divorce, breakups, separations, heartache, healing. I know so many women that are traumatized by the things that come up when they begin their healing journey. I know women that are silenced because they have gone all of their lives proving their worth and their value. And when they realize and wake up to this idea that, wow, all of these things this ladder that I have climbed, this corporate ladder that I have climbed, this visibility ladder that I have climbed, this way of showing and proving my worth that I have climbed, I'm now waking up to realizing that there is more outside of that. And that in itself has caused me to be silent because wait, what is all this stuff that I have been working for that means nothing? Now I don't know who I am. I'm silent. I'm silenced. So things like divorce, lack of love, betrayal, social media, your career, being turned down for a job, like betrayal with friends, being talked about, being crossed by someone, like being rejected, failure in your business, things not going as planned. There are a plethora of things that can cause us to be silent because life didn't go the way we planned, and it completely disrupts our peace because we spend the majority of the remaining time after thinking about what life would be if we had had what we were supposed to have, if we had done what we were supposed to do, right? Tons of causes. But I want to talk about the effects of being silent because this is where I found myself for a really long time. And it really kept me stuck. Because while I can give all those reasons, and I'm sure it's so easy for us to point the finger, become a victim to this, and believe that the world has shunned us, the world has done something to us, that these unexpected circumstances have put us in a place that we don't belong. And because of this, we cannot be ourselves in the way that we're supposed to show up in the world, in the way that we're supposed to love. We have these underlying feelings that are birthed from the unexpected, the chaos, the divorce, the lack of love, the betrayal, the crossing, the grief, the loss, the rejection, there are feelings that are birthed from this. So when I say this out loud, I just want you to acknowledge and consider if these are things that you are struggling with. Some of these are things that all of us struggle with, that they are inevitable, that they are based in our childhood, they are based on the way we were raised, our upbringing, all the things. But being silenced for a year, I found myself feeling all of these feelings over and over again on a cycle all the time, that these are the feelings that began to become like, it was like they overtook my identity. Unworthiness, powerlessness, rejection, lack of trust in others, lack of trust in self. Therefore, I struggled to make decisions, be decisive, be certain about anything. I struggled with all of that. I was often embarrassed, ashamed, felt guilty about decisions I had made. Again, that led to me, the lack of trust in my decisions. And that led to bitterness and resentment. I don't know about you, but I find myself the happiest when I'm able to lead with love. I don't know about y'all, but I know my journey on this earth is to literally lead with love. And there has been times and whole ass seasons, to be clear, that I do not. And this entire year was a year of dealing with the bitterness and resentment and overall hopelessness for humankind that I was harboring inside of me because I was silent. And we're going to get into the causes of that in a minute. But this is why you have to talk to someone. This is why you cannot be silent. This is why friends, therapy, networks, communities are so important. Because when you let one or a few situations fester that cause you any form of resentment, that allow you to be bitter, one of the things I realized is when you don't deal with that bitterness, it throws a party. It's you have one person or a few people or a few situations where you have experienced unworthiness or powerlessness or betrayal or uncertainty. And this bitterness meets other situations and it just throws a party. And now they're all partying inside of you until one of them's willing to scream. It's almost like all the wrongdoing in your soul is picketing for justice and wants to be visible and wants to be seen. I'm stretching that out. Let me make this very clear on what I mean by that. That is why we get into overwhelm and chaos and sadness so quickly, because we don't realize there's one thing that we're not willing to deal with. So often because of one feeling that we feel about someone, an experience, a wrongdoing, an injustice, we are now short-tempered in other things. We are now short-tempered with other people. We are now numb to other situations. We blow up or become aggressive at things that don't have anything to do with the core of that emotion that originally caused it. This is the equivalent of you being upset with your partner and not voicing it and letting them walk out of the door. And then you're like, I'm fine. I'm going to be fine. I got this. I got to grind today. And then an email comes in and you snap. And you don't know why you snapped, because 2 hours later, when your logical brain steps in, you're like, that didn't make any sense. I don't know why I'm tripping. Because of the original thing that is throwing a party inside of you, that is picketing for injustice or for justice for you. In your soul is having a party with all the other things that you are bitter about, that you haven't got any justice for. So now this is all festering and eating away at your body. And so now it's coming to life through the most simple things that if you do the work and you lead with love and you work to heal these things, you would be fucking surprised at how little of an impact these things have on you. But because we allow a lot of these circumstances to silence us, we don't know what to say. We don't know what to do. We don't trust ourselves. And that's okay. I'm using my experience to share this with you because I was silent for over a year, because I didn't know what to say. I had been so vulnerable and thought it was such a trophy that I was proud of, not to flash my life or things that I am victim to, but to be vulnerable because I wanted people to be able to pick up what they could from the experiences that I was experiencing, because I know I can put words to certain things. Until I realized I laid all the bullets out on the table and I was like, pick and choose as you would like, load the clip as how you would like. Because a friend said that to me. She said, I don't know how you're so vulnerable because it's literally like you give people the bullets to load the clip with. And I was like, that's crazy. I can't even imagine. And if they did, I wouldn't care until I did. And it happened. And I did care. And I found people using my vulnerability against me, the thing that they were once praising me for and cheering me on about and telling me that my ability to share was what gave them a transformation or clarity or understanding on their own feelings, then took my darkest moments, my messy times, and completely turned them on me and made me the villain in their story. Let me be crystal clear about something. That's not to say that I've never been wrong. I'll be the first to say, hell, I'm not a good friend. Like, I learned that in my shadow work. Your girl's not a good friend. I will chase someone in a relationship, but in a friendship, let you go in a heartbeat. You want to walk by. Oh, there's work I have to do there. I don't have time for that. And I have learned that is not the way to a solid friendship. But I also don't have to compromise the respect I have for myself just to maintain respect for other people. So because of a couple situations in my life in 2022 that didn't go how I thought they would, I got quiet. Like, I got really quiet. I started to judge myself the way that I had heard other people had judged me. Well, like, why am I saying this stuff? And why do I think I'm called to lead? And why do I think I need to put words to what everyone is feeling? What if I am wrong? And those questions, that lack of belief, that fear, that way of judging myself, the way other people had judged me poorly, led to other things. It just bled and it bled and it bled. It bled to a lack of presence showing up in my business, a lack of presence online, a lack of presence with my son, a lack of self-love in myself, a lack of trust in other people, inability to create new friends, inability to trust my decisions, lack of certainty, like brokenness, thinking I'm damaged, thinking there's something wrong with me, and eventually leading me to this full circle moment of like, do I even like anything in my life right now? Have I created a life that I don't love anymore? To the point where I really had to sit with myself and say, okay, what is going on here? You're not yourself anymore. You have faked it till you made it so hard that you don't even know who you are anymore. You are so silent because of other people that you don't know how to show up. You don't even know who you are when the cameras are off and the audio is not rolling. You don't even know what to say because you lack trust and love in yourself so much because you looked in the mirror and you believed that shit. You believed what other people said. I realized this process made me feel, I didn't realize it at the time. I thought I was just I just thought I had nothing to say after that. When I realized how I was being judged by the people that I loved, I realized I had nothing to say. But over time, pushing through it, being silent without saying anything, it created a mess. I became inauthentic. I didn't know how to be vulnerable anymore. I didn't know how to talk without overthinking and overanalyzing the things that I was going to say, thinking that I'm not ready yet. Trying to be anything besides myself. I don't know how I got to a place where I allowed other people's opinions to make me think that who I am right now and then as myself wasn't enough. Maybe I need to be sharper. Maybe I need to be more intelligent. Maybe I need to be a little cleaner. Maybe I don't need to cuss. Maybe there were so many people that I let close to me in a season, in my messy season, in my vulnerable season, in my very naked and unashamed season, where I was scrapping for anyone and anything to validate me because I was allowing the rejection and betrayal to eat away at me. So anyone that could fill my cup, I allowed it. And then when I heard the way that I was being judged, it was like I walked into a room full of mirrors, like a fun house. And I just looked in every one of them and was like, yep, that's true. Oh shit, that's probably true too. There's nothing wrong with inviting your shadows in and acknowledging them. And that's a whole nother episode. I could sit here and do that all day with you because there have been so many things that I had to acknowledge and change outside of just not being a good friend. But it was like I looked in the mirror and I said, yep, all of these things are true. I'm not enough. I have more work to do. And I allowed that journey to more work to make me silent. And that silence bled into everything I did in my life. I became extremely inauthentic. I didn't know how to be vulnerable anymore. I was afraid of my own fucking story. No one can tell my story better than me, but somehow I became afraid of the version of it, the only version of it that was true, which was mine. I'm going to be the first person to tell you this. One of the hardest lessons I had to swing in 2023 was my willingness to be the bigger person and shut up and allow myself to be the villain in other people's story. You cannot control the way other people see you. You cannot control the way people judge you. You cannot control the way people see you. That should not allow you to decide to be silent. These feelings, these overwhelming emotions literally silenced me. And so whether you feel like this because of a breakup, divorce, lack of love, lack of trust, betrayal, being crossed, failed business, failed attempts at anything, friendship breakups, heartache, grief, loss, healing, acknowledging your own trauma, like healing in itself will send you down a path where you don't know what to say anymore because you literally realize you've been living a life through a lens that is not even who you truly are at your core, and you've become silent because you feel like you don't have anything to say. I want to talk about some of the things that I had to do to find my voice again. And I'm still finding it. Let me be crystal clear. I literally went from talking on stages openly and vulnerably and hardly afraid to like, stop obsessing of how you want to sound, how you want to show up. How do you get back to you? How do you get your power back? How do you find your voice again? How do you open up to loving you again, just as you are, the way that you show up? How do you get back to her? One of the number one things that I have had to do, and I will continue to do, and I have to do it over and over and over again, is to forgive myself. More than once, more than twice, more than 100 times. Because if you are dealing with circumstances that have silenced you, it means that something has happened in your life that was unforeseen. Something that rocked your peace. Something that put a crack in the life you thought you were supposed to have that was unexpected. All of those things I just listed. Which means whether you are a perfectionist, you do like to do things right, you like to do things well, you like to put your all into something, that means that you have probably relived and reconsidered the things that have caused those circumstances over and over and over and over again about what you could have done differently. Why did you say that? Why did you do that? Why weren't you cleaner? Why weren't you nicer? Why weren't you kinder? Why didn't you think that through and handle that situation differently? Could it have saved X, Y, and Z? God's plan is not mine. And while some of those things could be, there could be an apology, there could be something more, there might be some shadows that you have to consider to work through, but you've got to forgive yourself for the way that things did not go as planned, for the fact that you didn't react the way that you wanted to. You have to forgive and decide that you're only going to be better because of it. Hell, go on a forgiveness tour. Like we tell my clients to go on a podcast tour, go get on as many podcasts as you possibly can to become more visible. Go on a forgiveness tour. Here's why. The way that you acted in certain situations, your reaction, your unregulated emotion in certain situations goes back to what I said at the beginning of this podcast. Bitterness runs rampant in your system, and it throws a party with everything else in your body that you are resentful about. So, something that has caused you trauma, grief, pain, anything that has silenced you is now living rent-free in your body. And so just because you give that thing forgiveness, your reaction forgiveness, there are now other things in your body picketing for forgiveness. Whether that is something that happened to you when you were 5, when you were 10, that has created the lens in which you live your life through. Now you need to go and forgive and work through and process all of these things. So hell, go on a forgiveness tour. Another thing I had to do was acknowledge, and I've said this in a podcast before, but living it was a whole nother thing. Shame equals should. And that goes all the way back to the forgiveness. You have to release the shame around all of this. I cannot tell you how many times I have said to myself, why did I talk so much? Why did I open up to these certain people? Why did I think people would love me for that thing and they only used it against me? Why did I trust this person? Why did I go there? Why did I partner with this person? Why did I think it was appropriate to collaborate with this person? Why did my body not know better? Why did I not trust my intuition? Why did I not listen to the promises that I have made myself? Why? That's shame. That's all shame. Shame equals should. That is shame that you didn't listen to yourself and that you didn't trust yourself, which just further beats at what we talked about, which just generates more lack of trust in yourself and other people. I'm bringing this up because every time I have now noticed that as simple as silence seems, and it's so appropriate to be still sometimes in our life, there are moments where I know I need to be still. I need to discern between the voice of other people and the voice in my head and be able to trust and understand at my core what my desires are, what is for me, what I need to break free from, what is for other people, what has nothing to do with me. But I'm bringing this muted, this concept of being silenced, of being muted forward, because it bleeds into every part of our life. It bleeds into every part of our life because something in your life did not go as planned. It's now allowing you to lack presence. It's allowing you to lack trust in yourself and other people. It's got you ashamed. You're dealing with insurmountable unforgiveness. It has now drug bitterness and resentment from a few situations to everything in your present day-to-day situations. That was one of the biggest lessons I learned when every day I'm dealing with overwhelm and chaos and thinking it's my business, it's my team, it's this, it's that, it's the people I know, it's my friends, it's It's none of that. When you figure out what you're not talking about, what feelings that you're truly feeling because of these things, and you're able to talk through them with someone, your network, your community, your therapist, whatever healing modality, whomever you are talking to, but whatever you are allowing to silence you is causing these feelings of powerlessness, brokenness, feeling damaged, embarrassed, ashamed, unworthy, all of these things. And those feelings are literally causing lack of presence, inauthenticity, your inability to show up. You're now unknowingly creating a version of yourself that is watered down, that you don't like. I was so watered down and exhausted and silenced and muted that at the top of this year, January 2023, we did our sixth women's event that we do every year, that when we started, we fell in love with, that we were willing to give up over $30,000 just to throw it away. Well, we lost. We didn't give it up. We lost over $30,000 to give it away because we were so exhausted and call it weak, because there are people doing this every day that can get through it. I could not. I was so tired of being judged, the tables being turned on me, feeling the feelings of powerlessness, unworthiness, betrayal, crossing by the people I loved, grief, loss. I was so tired of these feelings that I wanted to just throw it away. And so we threw a women's event with 200 women. And instead of selling anything at the end to help empower these women over 2 days, who our mentors lit us up because we could have made a ton of money. At the end of this event, we literally just gave it away. We were like, hey, here's the end message. Go mentor someone. We're done. Now, granted, we really ended the event because I really wanted my co-founder and best friend to have a life. But I needed to get my life back too. And all I knew was I was not being my authentic self. That I was silenced, that I was feeling and battling all these feelings in my head and I didn't know where they were coming from, that I felt the opposite of where I started. I felt like my intentions were off. I didn't know who I was. There was such little certainty, not just in the goal or where I was going, but just how I was showing up. All I wanted to do was get off of the stages. That's all I wanted. And so I'm sharing this because anyone that has been silenced, I have heard from you guys through these things when life doesn't go as planned and you can't find your voice again. Start talking. Deal with the shame. Let it ride passenger. Write down all the shoulds. Write them down. I should have done this. I should have done that. Even the shameful shit. The shoulds in your head that are like, I should have lost more weight. Maybe I wouldn't have lost my partner. I should have worked out more. I shouldn't have said that to her. I should have never been friends with her. All the shoulds, write them down. Write them down. And whatever forgiveness, routine, exercise, whatever forgiveness ritual you have to do with yourself, do it. And then let that be literally a rolling ball for your forgiveness journey. I'm going to call it your forgiveness tour, because you have got to not only forgive yourself for the things that you are ashamed of, and forgive yourself for the people and the things and the circumstances and the situations that have silenced you, but you've got to find your voice again. And that's going to be a journey of forgiveness for all of the things that breed resentment in your body, in your being, and have created this lens that you live your life through. Like I said, bitterness throws a party in your body. And then they all start battling and picketing for who's the most bitter and who deserves the most resentment. And who's the most powerful and who deserves the most justice, until one of them starts screaming. And that's when you got to say, okay, not only am I going to forgive myself for this situation, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to forgive all of these situations. All of this, friends, family, loved ones, all of it, because those are the things that silenced me. And it was all birthed in a couple unforeseen things in 2022 with people that I let in, people that I loved, that crossed me. And it's perfectly okay. What's not okay is I let it silence me for a year. And that's what I don't want for you, because that bled into every single part of my life. So the new Rich in Real Life this season is about not being silent, getting back to your authentic self, having whatever the fuck you want, doing what you say you're going to do, taking radical self-responsibility, doing the work, doing the shadow work, doing it over and over again, and maybe having some pauses and some breathers, but going back, because it is always necessary to be in tune with you and who you are and what is important. But whatever we do, we are not being muted. We are unmuted. We are not being silent by our circumstances, our situations, and we are going to be the generators and creators of our own peace. Whether we have to recreate it over and over again, we deserve it and we will have it. So that is being rich in real life. So I hope this episode was helpful for you guys. I hope it gave you a better understanding, and I hope it helped you through anything that you may be dealing with that just makes you feel aside yourself right now. You can always get back. All right. I'm sending you guys love, and I will see you on the next episode of Rich in Real Life.